Good day, everyone. We are beyond delighted to virtually present here as we discuss the assigned topic entitled Curriculum Implementation. Here are the following coverage of our presentation. First, we have the curriculum definitions, then the models of curriculum, followed by the implements of implementation, and to sum up, we have here the summary. Let's begin with the curriculum definitions. According to Yogi, 1993, conceptualized the term implementation simply as a process of putting an agreed plan, decision, proposal, idea, or policy into effect. Hence, curriculum implementation includes the provision of organized assistance to staff in order to ensure that the newly developed curriculum and the most powerful instructional strategies are actually delivered at the classroom level. Another definition from ESU, Enukoha, and Umuren, 2004, also conceived curriculum as all learning experience, a child as an under the guidance of a teacher. According to Aforma, 2005, curriculum is a program which is made up of three components: program of ideas, program of activities, and program of guidance. Curriculum as viewed by Albiuso, 2005, also an instrument that dictates the affairs of every educational system. It is the vehicle through the knowledge and other learning activities are disseminated. To conclude those definitions, curriculum implementation process involves helping the learner acquire knowledge or experience. It is important to note that curriculum implementation cannot take place without the learner. The learner is therefore the central figure in the curriculum implementation process. Although there are various factors that also influence curriculum implementation, such as the resource materials and facilities, the teacher, the school environment, culture and ideology, instructional supervision, and assessment. Implementation takes place as the learner acquires the intended experience, knowledge, skills, ideas, and attitude that are aimed at enabling the same learner to function effectively in a society. Therefore, putting the curriculum into operations requires an implementing agent. All in all, curriculum implementation refers to how the planned or officially designed course of study is translated by the teachers into syllabus, schemes of work, and lessons to be delivered to students. The implementation as an essential part of curriculum definition brings into existence the anticipated changes. That changes can occur in several ways. The two most obvious ways are slow change. This occurs, for instance, we incorporate minor adjustment in the course schedule when we add some books to the library or when we update the unit plan, etc. It is a slow change. There are also a rapid change. This happens as a result of new knowledge or social trends influencing the curriculum, such as computers education being introduced in the curriculum, and etc.
There are four models in curriculum implementation. The first model is the ORC model. ORC stands for Overcoming Resistance to Change. This model rests on the assumption that the success or otherwise of curriculum implementation primarily depends on the impact the developer make on the users of curriculum, such as teachers, students, and the society in general. This means that in order to implement the curriculum successfully, the developer who wishes to make changes must address the user's misgivings or the doubts and the possible consequences or other related factors. Thus, curriculum developers should therefore identify and deal with the concerns of the staff in various educational institutions when implementing new curriculum. The concerns under the first model, which is overcoming resistance to change, have four developmental stages: the unrelated concerns, the personal concerns, the task related concerns, and the impact related concerns. First, let's tackle about unrelated concerns. At this stage, teachers do not perceive a relationship between themselves and the suggested changes. For example, if a new program is being developed, a teacher at this stage may or may not be aware of this effort. If he/she is aware of it, he/she may not consider it something that concerns him or her. The teacher would not resist the change because he/she really does not perceive the change as something that influences his/her own personal or professional domain. The second one is personal concerns. At this stage, the teacher will react to the innovation in relation to his/her personal situation. He/she is concerned with how the new program compares to the one already in use. From the name itself, personal, this concerns primarily talks about the personal reaction of teachers towards the new curriculum. They might ask questions like, what does this new curriculum could offer? Is it better than the old ones? How do they differ? Something like that. The third is task-related concerns. This stage relates to the actual use of the innovation. The teacher at this stage will be concerned with the time required for teaching the new program, availability of materials, strategies to be adopted, and etc. Thus, meaning it has something to do with the roles of teachers. Of course, it is important that the users of the curriculum knows about the new set of rules under the new curriculum, most especially the teachers. Knowing about the new program, availability of materials, strategies to be adopted, and other teachers' concerns must be prioritized by the curriculum developer. Last stage is the impact-related concerns. The teacher at this stage will be concerned with how innovation will influence others. When working with the ORC model, we must deal directly with the concerns at stages 2, 3, and 4 in order to serve the purpose for which the change is effected. This concern is the most important concern that the curriculum developer must consider. Once he/she wanted to make a change, then they must know how will these changes could affect or influence others. Like for example are the students. Because we define curriculum as the sum total of the learned experiences of the students, then if there is something wrong with the curriculum, then the students would be affected. The second model of curriculum implementation is LOC model. LOC is the acronym for Leadership Obstacle Course. This model treats staff resistance to change as problematic and proposes that we should collect data to determine the extent and nature of the resistance in implementing the curriculum. It means that under this model, the organizational members must have a clear understanding of the proposed innovation and must be given relevant skills so that they possess the capabilities requisite for carrying out the innovation. They must also be motivated to spend the required time and effort to make the innovation a success. By doing this, they could easily see the problems that may arise because if the members of this organization could give feedback, then they can monitor and determine if problems once solved keep reappearing and so on.
The third model of implementation is the leakage model. The leakage model recognizes that there are innovators in research and development centers such as the universities. Educators in the field sometimes, however, find some attempts that are innovative and inappropriate for solving the problems. What is therefore needed is a match between the problems and innovations, the establishment of linkage with the established research centers. This model envisages two systems, user system and the resource system. There has to be a link between these two systems. The resource system should have a clear picture of the curriculum user's problems. If it is to retrieve or create appropriate educational packages, a successful resource system must proceed through a cycle of diagnose, search, retrieval, fabrication of solution, dissemination, and evaluation in order to test out its product. The fourth model of implementation is the RCA. It stands for Run Change Agent Model. The Run Change Agent or RCA model suggests that organizational dynamics seem to be the chief barriers to change. As in ORC and LOC models, it puts forward the following three stages in the change process: initiation, implementation, and incorporation. The first stage is initiation. At this stage, the curriculum developers work to secure the support for the anticipated change. To support a change, such as a new program, people must understand and agree that it is legitimate. Thus, curriculum implementation activity requires the personal backup of the individuals involved. For example, at this stage, we should inform the teachers about the need for change and how it might take place. The next stage is implementation. At this stage, the proposed change, example, the new program and the organizational structure, are adjusted to operationalize the change. And the last stage is incorporation. During this stage, the changes implemented become part of the established program. The assumption behind this is that the success of the implementation is a function of the characteristics of a proposed change, the abilities of academic and administrative staff, the readiness of the local community, and the organizational structure. During the incorporation stage, the changes implemented become part of the established program. At this stage, the program implemented is provided with the necessary personnel and financial support.
Now, let's proceed to the discussion of the influence of implementation. The first influence is the teacher. The teachers view their role in curriculum implementation as an autonomous one. They select and decide what to teach from the prescribed syllabus or curriculum. Since implementation takes place through the interaction of the learner and the planned learning opportunities, the role and influence of the teacher in the process is indisputable. You could be thinking, teachers are pivotal in the curriculum implementation process. But what is their role in the curriculum planning process? This means that teachers plays an important role in the implementation of the curriculum. If the teacher were able to translate curriculum intentions into reality, it is important that the teacher understand the curriculum document or syllabus well in order to implement it effectively. The second influence are the learners. Learners are also a critical element in curriculum implementation. While teachers are the arbiters of the classroom practice, the learners hold the key to what is actually transmitted and adopted from the official curriculum. It means that the learner factor influences teachers in their selection of learning experiences. Thus, in the curriculum implementation, it is needed to consider the diverse characteristics of learners. For example, home background and learning ability can determine what is actually achieved in the classroom. Next is the resource materials and facilities. No meaningful teaching and learning take place without adequate resource materials. This applies to curriculum implementation as well. For the officially designed curriculum to be fully implemented as per plan, the government or Ministry of Education should supply schools with adequate resource materials such as textbooks, teaching aids, and stationery in order to enable teachers and learners to play their role satisfactorily in the curriculum implementation process. This means that without resource materials and facilities, we cannot implement the curriculum effectively. In curriculum implementation, it is suggested also that the government must also provide physical facilities for the schools such as classrooms, laboratories, workshops, libraries, and sport fields in order to create an environment in which implementation can take place. The availability and quality of resource materials and the availability of appropriate facilities have a great influence on curriculum implementation. Another influence is the interest groups. A number of these interest groups exist in almost all societies. These include parents and teachers associations, religious organizations, local authorities, companies, and private school proprietors. These groups can influence curriculum implementation in the following ways. First, it provides schools with financial resources to purchase required materials. Second, it demands the inclusion of certain subjects in the curriculum. Third, it influences learners to reject courses they consider detrimental to the interest of the group. For example, is the PTA or the Parents and Teachers Association. We all know that whenever the school held a PTA meeting, it means that they are up to do school projects, and these projects help on providing budgets for schools. These budgets are used to buy or provide the needs of school, or it is used for making the school a more conducive. Therefore, these interest groups that I have mentioned are very important in the implementation of the curriculum. Next influence is the school environment. One other factor that influences curriculum implementation concerns the particular circumstances of each school. Schools located in rich socioeconomic environments and those that have adequate human and material resources can implement the curriculum to an extent that would be difficult or impossible for schools in poor economic environments to implement. Having a good school environment means that the community where the school is located have a better social system and economic progress. This can be shown by how the people in this community supports the school. This could be connected to the interest groups. Groups like the officials of the community could show their support to the school by implementing programs related to the improvement of the school. But if the school belongs to a community where there is a poor socioeconomic, then it might be somehow difficult for them to implement the curriculum successfully. Another influence is the culture and ideology. Cultural and ideological differences within a society or country can also influence curriculum implementation. Some communities may resist a domineering culture or government ideology and hence affect the implementation of the centrally planned curriculum. Just like people who have different opinions, schools also have different cultures and ideology based on their location. Like for example, the schools located at Southern Tagalog. Of course, the language they are using is obviously Tagalog. As the curriculum implementer, just like teachers, must use Tagalog as his/her language in communicating with the students and other people related to the school in order to avoid barriers. Thus, knowing the culture and ideology of the school could help in implementing the curriculum. Another influence is the instructional supervision. Curriculum implementation cannot be achieved unless it has been made possible through the supervisory function of the school head. It means that the head of the school is very important in implementing the curriculum. Their supervision matters. Some example of this supervision or supervisory function is first, deploying staff. Second, allocating time to subjects taught at the school. Third, providing teaching and learning materials. And lastly, creating an atmosphere conducive to effective teaching and learning. If the school heads do not practice this kind of supervision or supervisory function, then the curriculum will not be implemented effectively. Also, as stated in curriculum implementation, the head monitors and guides curriculum implementation through ensuring that schemes of work, lesson plans, and records of marks are prepared regularly. The head teacher maintains a school tone and culture that create the climate of social responsibility. Effective curriculum implementation does not take place in a school where the head is incapable of executing supervisory functions.
Another is the assessment. Assessment in the form of examinations influences curriculum implementation tremendously. Due to the great value given to public examination certificates by communities and schools, teachers have tended to concentrate on subjects that promote academic excellence and little else on the rest. This action by the teacher obviously can affect the achievement of the broad goals and objectives of the curriculum. Unconducive school environment. It is believed that learning can only take place in a conducive environment. By a conducive learning environment, we meant spacious and well-ventilated classrooms and seats. There should be no distraction of any kind or noise, no interference to disturb the learning activities. A school environment where all these ingredients are found wanting curriculum implementation will be hindered and the teacher in question will not be able to carry out his or her duties effectively and efficiently. This implies that the school's environment is not student-friendly. Another one is heavy academic loads. According to AFAHIDE 2009, some global and emerging issues such as family life education, citizenship, HIV or AIDS, drug abuse, among others, are introduced as curriculum content to be learned by students or pupils. This is in addition to the already existing school subjects. Time allotted for the implementation of this heavy academic load is not adequate. Teachers now combine normal class period with school lessons, especially in the primary and secondary schools, whereas in the tertiary institutions, their combination both sandwich evening and regular program with other programs like distance and weekend programs. All this possessed by big challenge for the teacher as a curriculum implementer. Another is teacher factor. Teachers are the determinant of effective and efficient curriculum implementation at every level, so they should be graded in their respective areas of specialization. National Policy on Education, or NPE 2004, stated that no nation will rise above the qualities of its teachers. Teachers of today, once they are employed, they feel they don't need education or learning again. They relax and become lazy at the same time. This poses a big challenge to them, for they can no longer move along with the emergence of different teaching and learning innovations. Of course, if there's a teacher factor, there is a student factor. Student practice examination, malpractice, extortion of money. They threaten their teachers once they discipline or punish them for unruly behavior in the schools. This constitutes a big challenge to teacher as a curriculum implementer. Yes, there's a parent factor. Most parents, especially the illiterate and ignorant ones, do not know the value of education and so don't provide their children or wards with school materials like textbooks, writing materials. So most of the times they threaten the teachers for punishing their children either due to the truancy or any other forms of indiscipline. And the last one is the working conditions. Government does not take good care of the teachers as should be. Teachers are being neglected by the government. Teachers' salaries are being delayed together with their allowances. They are not being properly placed in terms of salary structure. Thus, due to this kind of working conditions, teachers have no job satisfaction and so their working conditions possess a big challenge to them that can influence curriculum implementation.
For summarization, curriculum implementation is a process of putting an agreed plan, decision, proposal, idea, or policy into effect. There are four models of curriculum implementation. The first model is the ORC model, or Overcoming Resistance to Change. Under this model are the four developmental stages, which are unrelated concerns, personal concerns, task-related concerns, impact-related concerns. The second model is LOC model, or the Leadership Obstacle Course model. The third one is the linkage model, and the last is RCA, or Rand Change Agent model. The influences of implementation are the teacher, the learners, resource materials and facilities, interest groups, the social environment, culture and ideology, instructional supervision, assessment, unconducive school environment, heavy academic load, teacher factor, student factor, parent factor, and working conditions. In general, to effectively implement curriculum, it must be accepted by the teachers, parents, students, and the community. In educational practices, these factors interact with each other and generate influences that cannot be attributed to one factor or another. This requires an understanding of the purpose of the program, the roles people will play, and those affected. This process needs to be planned but not rigid. And I am Maria Gessel Noche.
And I am Lealyn Poblete. Are the reporters? Thank
Thank
you
you
for
for
listening.
listening.